Hello world! It is the last Christmas story before it's actually Christmas! Oh, I'm so excited! So yeah, this will be part 3 of the Christmas story, and as I said, part 4 will be up next week when it's already the 25th, and that means Christmas. So yay! As you might be able to hear, my voice is a bit like shaky and kind of dry, which is just because I'm a little bit sick. I'm a little bit not so well, so it might be that this is kind of weird sounding, but I'll do my best. I hope you enjoy it. Get cozy or like do something else, whatever, and yeah, have fun with this part of the Christmas story. December 12th. He doesn't want anyone to know. He even asked me to come up with some sort of cover story. It is Friday evening and Till and I are sitting in front of the fireplace, blankets wrapped around our legs and hot chocolates in hand. At first he didn't want to tell me about his talk with Josh, but after the two of them kept avoiding each other all day long, I sat him down and asked what was going on. And now he is telling me about how insecure Josh is, about how difficult the relationship is and how he hates lying to Leia. And all I can think is that really, this is like it was with Daniel. The whole hiding and keeping secrets. If Josh doesn't come out soon, this might just end in horrible insults and broken hearts again. And just like with Daniel, I'm torn between my care for Till and my empathy for Josh. I understand that this is hard on him and that he is confused. He has been in a pretty serious relationship with Leia for 1.5 years after all. But there is one thing that is different with Josh. Daniel knew he was bisexual. He was sure of that. It was only his father who couldn't accept it. Daniel could have stood up to the person telling him his feelings were wrong, for he knew that they were not. Josh, however, is unsure himself. He just isn't at the point of standing up for his feelings yet. But I think with some more time and support he will get there. And as far as I know, there's no one standing in the way of that. So, after long consideration, I voiced my thoughts. I think you should stay with him. Talk to him, show him how easy it is for you, let him know that you're there for him. I think he just needs a bit more time. Till's eyes don't leave the fireplace, and I see his mind wander, considering my words and what it means to listen to them. Finally, he looks at me and says, "Okay, here's the deal. I talk to Josh if you call that Toby guy." I grin, knowing exactly what he's doing. He already decided to stay with Josh. If he wanted to leave him, we wouldn't even have this conversation, but he knows that I might not call Toby. I told Till about Toby this morning, and while I talked I realized that I am in serious danger of falling in love with someone who actually likes me too. And Till noticed that as well. He also knows that as much as I enjoy spending time with Toby, the thought of a relationship scares me, since I have never had one before. I nod, accepting his little push in the right direction, and hold out my hand. Deal. He shakes my hand and says, "All right, let's fall in love." I laugh at his direct words. Then we just enjoy our cozy evening setting, while each getting lost in our own thoughts. December 13th. It is 12 o'clock, the sun burning down on a melting white Mars, our house filled with cheery Christmas tunes, and I am losing my mind. Toby will be here in half an hour to pick me up for a date. I'm showered, dressed, and mentally prepared with a list of interesting conversation starters, and still my mind is going wild. I always pictured my first date to be with someone I knew very well, the sort of relationship that slowly develops out of a friendship, but this is very different. I've met Toby barely a week ago, and already I want this to be perfect. Not only because it is my first date, but because I think he might be the one. Not necessarily the one as in the one I will love forever and always, but the one with whom I could have my first relationship. The one to teach me what a romantic love feels like. I run around the house, up and down the stairs, going into the kitchen without eating anything and checking my makeup in every mirror I pass. And then it's 12:30. The bell rings. I feel like my heart stops beating. "Hey," Toby grins as I open the door. And there we go, my heartbeat is back. "Hey," I try my best to sound confident, but I don't even have to look at Toby to know that I'm not doing a really good job with that. "You ready to go?" "Yeah, just need my jacket." I use the second I'm facing away from him to take a few deep breaths. Then I grab my jacket and step outside. Toby didn't tell me where we are going. Even if he had, I probably wouldn't know the place, so I let him take the lead and stroll along in silence. My mind is racing, trying desperately to remember all the light-hearted chats I came up with earlier, but my brain is blank. Thankfully, Toby breaks the quiet. "Are you okay? You seem really, I don't know, nervous, I guess?" Great. I think I prefer the silence. I consider shaking his comment off, saying everything is fine, but I guess it will make things a lot easier for both of us if I just stick to the truth. "Well, yeah, actually I am quite nervous. You see, this is kind of like my first date, like ever." "Oh." I cannot possibly read his expression, but he definitely is surprised. I just hope not negatively so. "Really?" His confusion confuses me. Yeah. Wow. This is probably the most awkward silence ever. Finally he shrugs and says, "Alright, I better make it worthwhile then, don't I?" We both know how forced our loves sound, but it releases the tension and lightens the mood nonetheless. The first few sentences after this are still a bit helpless, but soon conversation flows easily. Toby telling me about his funniest customers at the Christmas market, and me talking about the move here and my impressions of London. It only takes us 10 minutes to get to the coffee shop Toby picked for our first date, and even in the presence of a dozen chatty strangers, our conversation creates a bubble around us, shielding us from the world outside, letting it appear like a blurry silent film rolling in the background. When Toby drops me off at my place 4 hours later, there's no nervousness or awkwardness, just the warmth of deep understanding and the memory of an afternoon that is already one of my favorites of all time. So, was it everything I ever wished for? He isn't even trying to hide how important my answer is to him, which makes it even easier for me to respond. It was. Even more, in fact. Thank you. He does not try to kiss me goodbye. The quiet smile we share enough to express our feelings for now. December 14th. On Sunday morning I awake to a text from Toby asking if I'd like to join him on his first day at the Christmas market that he won't have to spend inside his jewelry booth. Immediately I accept, pushing the thoughts of homeworks aside, and instead focus on the wonderful feeling that hasn't left my stomach since yesterday. I wouldn't call it butterflies, but I do understand now why people would compare it to something that beautiful. In the evening, Till and I sit in front of the fireplace again, each glowing from the events of this fantastic weekend. Till tells me about meeting Josh, about Josh showing him his favorite coffee shop, about the two of them talking about their relationship as well as everything else. And I tell Till about Toby, describe how he makes me laugh in a way that is childish and free, how he reached for my hand today and hesitated in order to ask me whether it was okay for me. I look into the fire while I talk about this act of consideration, and the dancing flames reawake the happiness this evoked in me, the warmth of his hand around mine. And for this moment I wish to stop time, to keep this happiness with us forever. December 15th. The classroom feels as cold as the world outside, the snow seemingly falling right through the windows into our laps. I sit next to my brother since Ilya claimed my place earlier in order to get away from Teal. But even with the distance between them, I still feel the tension, the anger bubbling inside each of them, waiting for a word or even just a look to burst out. And once again I'm in the middle of it, understanding both sides but not actually being involved. So rather than to try and talk to either of them and possibly making things even worse than they already are, I decide to stay silent and instead focus on the good things in life, such as the text I just received from Toby. Got another shift at the market after school, and I already know it'll be completely boring without you here. I smile as I read his words, my phone suddenly a unique treasure in my hands, for it holds this message. Then I take a glance at Ilya sitting in my chair in the front row, her eyes purposefully avoiding our direction, and I sigh before replying. I'd love to come by, but I've got some damage control to do. I'd rather be bored than in the middle of this mess. I know it sounds quite whiny, and for a moment I considered changing it, but then I just hit send, trusting that Toby will understand me, even if he doesn't understand the context. And he does. Almost immediately he replies, "That really is a worse situation. But at least you still feel your toes. Seriously though, if you need any help." Again, a smile brightens my worried expression. His offer to help in a completely unknown situation, a welcome act of support in this early stage of a relationship, and his attempt to cheer me up, a reason to let me forget my sorrows for a second. I stop in my thoughts, stumbling over how naturally the word relationship came to mind. Are we in a relationship? I don't really know, it's only been 2 dates. However, we did hold hands in public yesterday, and his first text just now did imply that he misses me. I stare at my phone, trying to find a hidden answer to my unspoken question in the space between his words. I give up when the little envelope in the corner blinks to let me know I've got another message. Toby again. What are you doing on Wednesday? I postpone my relationship thoughts and text back. First basketball practice, yoo-hoo! Again there's some doubt whether this is too much or not enough, but I just go with my guts. Well, if that isn't the reason to celebrate, then I don't know what is. How about I pick you up and treat you to a nice dinner? Toby picking me up at the sports center where everyone can see us? Him holding my hand and offering to carry my bag? Us sitting in a nice restaurant by candlelight? That does sound an awful lot like a relationship. Before the panic that starts to rise in my stomach can take over my brain, I type, "That sounds wonderful, I'm in. Need some time to get changed from sports girl to fancy dinner girl though, so how about 7 p.m, and hit send. Great, I'll be there, comes the immediate reply. I put my phone back in my pocket and spend the rest of the day daydreaming about the evening, about what I'll wear and where we might go, about what dinner with my maybe boyfriend will be like. And the icy stairs around me suddenly feel a lot less cold. December 16th. I cannot take the silence any longer. We are sitting in our usual places at the window, Ilya and Till in their seats and me on the table in front of them. However, nothing about this is as it is usually. Till simply ignores Ilya, and consequently me as well, and stares out of the window as if the slowly falling snow is the most interesting thing he's ever seen, while I try, and fail, to convince Ilya that he would never hurt her on purpose. How could he mean well? How could he possibly think I'd be okay with this? That's when I snap. I know lying is never a good solution, and in most cases it just makes everything worse, but I cannot stand the sight of the two of them ignoring each other. So I blurt out, "He meant well for me." Both Till and Ilya stare at me, Ilya in confusion and Till with a mix of doubt and interest. He told George not to play with me the same way you told me to be careful with him. Not that either of that would have been necessary. I see Till shaking his head, informing me that he doesn't want to solve this by lying, but Elea looks relieved. She wants to believe me, wants this fight to be over. So I shoot Till a pleading glance, my eyes begging him to go with it, and after a moment of hesitation he finally nods. Just in time for Elea to turn around and ask, "Why didn't you tell me this sooner?" There's still some anger in him, some hurt pride, as he answers, "Because we still talked. Josh told me the same thing Sam told you, that they are not dating, and after that we had a nice afternoon. I still enjoyed hanging out with him." I'm worried that he just destroyed this newfound peace. Elea thinking about his words a bit too long, her expression a bit too doubtful. But then she says, "Yeah, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that you didn't intend to become friends with him in the first place. Right?" Till and I share a glance. "Right," he says, and forces a smile on his lips. That's enough to convince Elea of their reconciliation. December 17th. I do feel a bit weird walking along the sports building in my pretty dress and high heels. But Toby walking next to me, wearing a fancy outfit himself, holding my hand and letting me go on and on about the basketball practice, calms me down and lets me forget about the funny looks we get from some of the people in sweatpants crossing our path. Toby made reservations at a restaurant not far away, so it only takes us 15 minutes to walk there. He opens the door for me before we follow the waiter to our table. After we make our orders, he asks me, "So, do you want to tell me about that mess you were in the other day?" I hesitate, not wanting to disturb this wonderful evening with such negative thoughts. I don't know. It's rather complicated and has a lot to do with, secrets and stuff I cannot tell you. He nods in understanding, taking my hand that is lying on the table. That's okay. But just so you know, you can talk to me, even if it's just cryptic details. And I'm sure you'll figure out a way to solve this. I flinch a bit at this reminder of my terrible lie yesterday. Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, this is such a great place. Why don't we talk about something nice instead? He nods, but my words rather seem to make him nervous, his fingers twitching around my hand. "Are you okay?" I ask, putting my other hand on top of our intertwined ones. He looks at our tangled fingers, smiling absently before locking eyes with me and taking a deep breath. "Yes, I'm great actually, which is why I wanted to ask you something." "Okay, what is it?" "Would you, do you want to be my girlfriend?" I'm torn between gasping out in surprise and laughing out of happiness, so I let out a weird noise somewhere in between, which results in a rather confused Toby. Not wanting him to misunderstand my reaction, I hurried to answer, yes, of course I want to." Our smiles could probably lighten the entire restaurant. Toby lifts my hand from the table and places a soft kiss on my knuckles. When our dinner arrives, we refuse to let go of each other, which makes eating a bit difficult, but it's worth nonetheless. We continue talking about everything and nothing, every now and then remaining silent in order to just look at each other. If this is what every relationship is like, then I think I finally understand what all the fuss is about, because this might well be the happiest I've ever been. December 18th. It's when Till and I are doing the dishes, our dad already back in his office after dinner, that Till says, "What do you think about celebrating Christmas with Mom?" I put down the plate I was holding, keeping the towel though to occupy my nervous hands. "I don't know. Did you talk to Dad yet?" Oh no, I wanted to ask you first. Alright. I mean, I would love to see her again. And I don't know, do you think we'd be in Minehead or would we go wherever she is then? Well, she does still have that flat in Minehead. So I think that would be the easiest way. Okay. Because I do miss Minehead and it would be wonderful to be back there with Mom. So yeah, I do like the idea. Good. So should I ask Dad? Depends. Do you know if Mom even has time? Maybe she already made plans. Oh, come on. You don't actually think she would make Christmas plans without us, do you? True. Okay, ask Dad then. Although we should probably make a plan for one to celebrate Christmas with him. I thought we'd just do it on the 23rd. And then the 24th with Mom. Sounds good to me. Okay, so I guess I'll talk to him sometime soon. Yeah, sometime soon. So, that's the part 3 of the Christmas story. I hope you liked it. I know some of the chapters were rather short. That's just because I've been really busy. As I said, I'm going home soon for Christmas, so there were a lot of things to organize so that I'm done with that when I'm home. I'm gonna try and make next week's a bit more, more interesting, more lengthy maybe. We'll see. But yeah, the next Christmas story will be Christmas, which is, as I said, really exciting. So yeah, I hope you have a nice week until then. Don't let the Christmas preparations freak you out. And yeah, I hope you always have a reason to smile. And I shall see you next week. Goodbye!